Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome back from that break. Well, thank you, Bernard. You know, it is actually similar to what we were discussing this morning on our top story. Now, a writer by name Lekan Sote, he's a columnist and he is also a social commentator. He wrote yesterday on The Punch, and it's titled Nigeria's Killer Containers. And guess what? I don't think it's Nigeria's killer containers. Well, you can disagree or agree with me on facebook.com/GMN School TV. Tweet at us at Oliver Modi, at Eno_Alfred, at Zoe Chinaka, or better still, at GMN School TV. Lekan Sote is here with us to tell us why exactly he wrote this article, because I think it's Nigeria's killer roads. Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good.
Fine, thank you.
Yep.
For some reason, I believe it's Nigeria's killer roads that would have, maybe, encapsulated everything. But you decided to go with Nigeria's killer containers. Why?
Well, let's put it this way. My father died on the express road, the Lagos Express Road, sometimes about 14 years ago. And I've always been concerned about that road. I've taken various aspects of that road. For example, you will look at the new road that is being constructed now, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Right in the middle of that expressway, there is a gutter. There are no barriers. And one day, very early in the morning, I was traveling to Shogo, around about 5:30 in the morning. I saw 2-3 vehicles already sleeping inside the ditch in an express. How do you construct an express road and put gutter in the middle? So I take various aspects.
Okay.
And when some 2-3 weeks ago, some kids died in a crash,
yes.
And it moved my heart. I was so worried because my son was to attend that school.
Wow.
So I'm now thinking to myself, supposing my son was
Amongst them.
in that bus, that, how would I feel? So one aspect of my interest road accidents is container. And when you read, and then I find out that it appears the press and even the FRSC and the police seem to be more concerned with tankers that carry fuel.
The new buzzword.
Yeah. And that's what they keep saying. You will see even the new governor of Lagos State has just gone to come and give them a riot act and how to operate just tanker drivers. How about unlatched containers that have been driven? Each time I have to drive past this, I'm always scared.
But surely it's a combination. Zoe says she calls it killer roads. Nigeria's killer roads. We're looking at killer tankers. Mm-hmm. There's obviously, the bigger picture is within transport, we have a huge problem. But I remember sitting here myself, going through a newspaper not so long ago. We were talking about Ambodi's task force.
That's right, yeah.
That that he's put into place, and I was commending him. Like, yes, this is great. That something does need to be done. Of course, ditches in roads, gutters. That's also something that needs to happen. So what has gone wrong? I mean, only Ambode has already issued 24 hours to clean up the Papa Expressway. We're still seeing huge gridlock.
That's right.
This task force that seemed to have been was the savior for Lagos.
They are compromised.
What's happening?
They are compromised.
Corruption again.
Oh yes, they are compromised. You see, we only need 500 naira to take care of those guys, and then they disappear. And then so the gridlock comes back again. Listen.
Can you elaborate with that?
Okay.
Who's receiving this 500 naira and turning a blind eye?
Police officers have been asked to, bring sanity into this, to operate a system whereby you don't come to that Baga or Sonya place, to the tank farm, until you are called. You are called to come and load. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? And this has been breached. So people now park along the road where they're not supposed to, and then it's like they want to jump the queue. Also, our own indiscipline, we want to join the queue, we want to get there on time, rather than wait. And in any case, even when they wait, the guys who are calling them also get compromised. They are like, call me first. And so there's no order. Okay. Everybody is compromising. The guys who need to call them in are compromised. The police officer says, okay, you have come, okay. So, and then once you settle, then he pretends, or if sometimes they move away, completely leave the scene. So those guys are on their own. So they become a law unto themselves.
You've mentioned compromise, like 4 times in a sentence. Just a week ago, Monday precisely, this special task force, they went with this riot act, it wasn't given them, but then they were operating on that same strength.
That's right.
They went and they cleared the tankers, on top of the bridge and under the bridge, normal roads in Apapa. And, my callers were happy for just 2 days. And guess what? On Wednesday last week, they called in and the phone lines were on fire. They said, guess what? All the tankers are back on Apapa Road. Why? I mean, you've mentioned compromise. I call it corruption. We all call it corruption at the end of the day. Right. Why do we continue to see corruption or compromise in every sector, especially traffic that doesn't just lead to, traffic. It leads to road rage. It leads to death by accidents and so on and so forth. What exactly is the problem? There has to be a problem. I can actually pin it down on planning because, people say if they had planned Lagos better, predecessors before Amber Day, perhaps we wouldn't even be having this.
Indiscipline. People simply don't want. You see, I remember I wrote my column sometime last year, the power of mathematics, the power of math. Now, if you will not queue up, do you understand? Then it means that you are going to, bundle things up, and then there'll be confusion, and then before you know it, everything is compromised. If people will not obey instructions, if people will not say first, and then second, and then third, and then fourth, that's ranking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is nominal. That's not ranking. But when you say first, who comes second, who comes third? Nigerians don't want that. Everybody wants to be first, and that it doesn't work that way. There has to be some agreement about what to do first, and then what comes after that, and what comes out, and then who comes first, who comes after that. It doesn't make you inferior if you come last, or second, or third, because these things are available 24 hours in a day, right? And it takes so many minutes to put fuel into the 33-liter tanker. You understand? So you can calculate and know that so many will be filled in a day, okay? Times the number of spots where you load at the load bay, So you should be able to know that, okay, in a day we will not be able to load more than 400 or 500 or 200. And then you call for the 200 to come, and then tomorrow is your own day. And then that shouldn't be a problem. But then you compromise.
But in defense of these tanker drivers, these truck drivers, they've said that the provision of the tank farms is not enough. So where do they expect the rest of the tankers? They just have space for 1,000 trucks. Really, whose problem is, whose responsibility is it? Is it the government? Is it the local government? Is it the federal government? We can't just keep blaming these truck drivers for not, packing well or doing the right thing. What is the root cause of this? If they're providing just 1,000 tank farms or just, the capacity, what will happen to the rest of the trucks?
In the meantime, this is a short run. In the short run, you obey instructions. In the short run, you obey instructions.
So are we now just banking on an attitude change? If we're saying we're not going to put it on the government,
that's right, yes.
How are we to just rely on attitude? Because there's a problem.
Government has a responsibility. It's going to take some time to do all these things. As far as I'm concerned, Lagos doesn't have enough roads, as far as I'm concerned. There's not enough roads. You will get to Paris, you will see that in the center of Paris, at the Champs-Élysées, you get to the middle, there are roads coming from the center, and then there are roads, concentric circles. So there are several, you can always get in and out to any point, from any point. But it's not like that. Now, for example, let me give you an idea. You go off Abeokuta Lagos Road from Yanapaja or Dopemu, and then you enter into that axis. At the end, you are going to end up with one road that leads into an entire environment. So, of course, you are always going to have hold-up. So, there's, if you like, some will say structural problem. Lagos is not properly designed. There's no doubt about that. Because new communities spring up without following laid down city plans. You know, you are calling Lagos mega city that is not planned. And these things happen. You will get to Washington, D.C., you will see that the area is...
Can I just break in here, sir? Let's just head out for the news break. When we come back, we'll open up the phone lines and you can call in and tell us those bad spots in your area and what you think the government or we the citizens, maybe the Special Task Force, can do to get this thing sorted out. Thank you so much for joining in at all. We're going to head out to Victor Ororo, who's standing by for the News Express. To stay with us. Thank you, Victor. Now it's time for us to continue this conversation, but we want you to now call us on these phone lines. You can reach us on toll-free, which is on the screen, or you can call 012-778196, 012-772196, and 012-777-196. Where are those bad areas and the roads around your area? And then let's talk about the responsibility, these traffic law enforcement units that have the mandate to actually supervise and manage these roads. Are they doing their jobs? Talking about LASMA, talking about the Federal Safety Commission, talking about the vehicle inspection officers, the police even. What is happening? Lekan Sote, stay with us, and let's just throw the question straight to you. You also mentioned it in your article that there seems to be lots of people, these units, abdicating responsibility. They're passing the buck left, right, center. But whose job really is it to manage this? We have the new one last month.
Well, let's put it this way. Government, ultimately, and Ministry of Works and Transport is the ultimate agency responsible for all this. Now, if they are not saying anything about this, they don't identify this problem and do so. I remember when James Mohammed was head of state for this country for just about 6 months. I recall that I was a little kid, and I remember he made a pronouncement that vehicles, tippers that aren't covered when they carry their sand or stones, you know, should be apprehended. I picked up and, you know, and then I was like, okay. But as soon as he died, nobody was enforcing that. Everybody just, it was like an amnesia. People just forgot about it. So I keep asking myself, and I try to look at the statutes, there doesn't seem to be an agency or even a law in place to deal with this. Every day, I have a younger brother who works in one of these shipping farms along the Oshodi Expressway. He told me that one morning he was going to work. A container fell on top of somebody, and, you know, the guy was helped to run away by the people. Just like other people on the way say, you know, they are not around now, so why don't you just, you know, go away. And the guy left. And I'm like, even Nigerians themselves conspire against themselves.
And that's, it seems that so much of what we're talking about seems to then fall back onto human behaviour, our character, and what we're doing as a people. I know it's easy to look at the government, okay, the government should do X, Y, Z. The government now, okay, somebody says, I'll introduce a task force because we're seeing an increase in these accidents. They're put in place, they're told, I want you to investigate, see what's happening. Their preliminary results have shown them a lot of this boils down to human error. So there are steps in there. So it's, you know, the government's job to put these steps into place. But without the enforcement, without the people that have been trusted to oversee, to not put the 500 naira in their pocket and to make sure, you know, things are in place. In addition to the fact that the task force are also to put together some guidelines over the next 2 years on ethical conduct for these tanker drivers, I'm still trying to understand how things can change, or is this just something we're just going to continue talking about? Because the task force, it's a welcome change. It was needed, but without the enforcement, how can anything possibly change?
You see, at the end of the day, the buck stops on somebody's table. In Lagos State, for now, it's going to be on the table of the governor. Why do I say that? If you recall Oshodi, there was a time I would never, for the life of me, pass through Oshodi. And then somebody told me, just a few months after Fashola became governor, says, Oshodi is okay now. And I'm like, okay, let's see. Then one day, I didn't object to passing through Mushin, through Oshodi. When I got to Ikeja, I was like, where is Oshodi? Because there was no hold up, there was no nothing. It was
different.
So it depends on the attitude of the CEO, who is like, this thing has to be done, and it will be done. I recall before Fashola became governor, I think during the military era, if you got, I grew up on Lagos Island. If you got to Martin Street by the Oluwole area, this massive heap of garbage for years, not for weeks, for years was there. And everybody, but when Fashola came, Fashola said, this thing has to go. And that was it. Somebody insisted that it must be done. So I think the CEO of Lagos needs to look at those issues one by one. And it's not good to just give a blanket. There's peculiarities. Tanker loads have their own problems.
Yes.
Containers have their own problems.
The roads as well have their own problems.
That's why I said, I will Tanker says, may your roads be rough. I think somebody wants the roads to actually be rough.
But then we seem to be always faced with damage control. What can now be done? I mean, we've already started on that footing. I mean, everyone needs to tackle their issues, but it's on the governor's table as it stands. Last month, they need to know what their job responsibility is. They have shift, they need to stick by it. And then corruption is at the base. That's the base. But then what can we do as damage control for this to, pull through? I mean, we have 24 hours to look at the Route Act being, carried out. But then what else can be done?
About containers or the general traffic situation?
General traffic situation in not just Lagos, but Harcourt. We have it also in Delta State.
Entire country, yeah. Well, I think people who run the country must go to the drawing board. You see, my attitude, I have a friend who is a German. He says Nigerians aren't critical about issues, meaning that they don't question issues. They don't ask deep questions. They don't reflect before taking decisions. Everybody just goes like, oh, there's hold up in Lagos, and let's set up a task force, and stop that, don't do this. There has to be a systemic, total, thinking about the entire problem, not just an aspect. Somebody said, one of you said, the whole thing is transportation. Yes, see, aircrafts are dropping, boats are capsizing. You understand? Yeah. Trains run into. I was reading.
Run off track.
Yeah, So it's an entire thing. So somebody needs to look at the total package. Every aspect, every detail. There are professionals in this country. There are professors of transportation in this country. I know that Unilag has.
But they don't get the job.
Yeah. So then they need to be called. Because charlatans get to positions of.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have a teacher. A former principal is dead now. He's a mathematician. He was asking me, you have 2 kids? I said, yes. Why not have many kids? I said, well, I don't. He says, well, I have many kids. I said, well, why did you think you should need to? Then he now told me, he said, listen, the welder, the mechanic, and so on, they have more kids. When they are going to vote, their kids will outvote your kids. And he made some sense to me, and I thought, I said, okay, it means that, what I'm trying to say is that the majority of Nigerians aren't going to think deep about issues, And then when you insist on doing things right, you are the odd man out. We need to change our attitude about things. We need to understand that when laws are made, they are for our general interest. So people should key into laws or regulations that are made in our interest. Or maybe those in government need to find a way to explain to people that, okay, this law, this is the purpose. you debate it, you let them understand.
You know why it's really important, before we let you go, sometimes we seem to forget that local governments are actually the grassroots government that actually supervise these small roads, these small portions, before even complaining that the governor is not doing anything. Do you understand? Right. So that's why it's really tricky that the local government, they don't seem to do anything except the governor. Yesterday on radio, someone said because the governor visited Ejigbo on Monday, the local government chairman tarred all the roads. I'm like, eye service, are you kidding? How did you get elected?
Exactly. Now, where was the money all along? You see, again, we are running an over-centralized system. All thinking must come from the center all of the time. I recall as a student in America, I don't even remember the governor of my state. It's the mayor that does practice. It's the mayor that I think about. If I need things, I go to the mayor's office. Governor's office for what? There's no reason for me to do that. So, like you said, this animal called federalism, we need to let it run. We probably need to review the constitution. Sometime last year or some years ago, Jonathan set up a constitution. Let's review. Yeah, you see, we need to have to decentralize things.
Okay.
You can't go Soviet all the time. You need to democratize things. If you insist on centralized system, one person on your table, how much can you do? You say, my management teacher says one individual can only supervise 5 people maximum at a time. So if you now want to supervise 170 million Nigerians at a time, how do you do that?
Well, this conversation will definitely continue. I want to say thank you to you, Lekan Sote, for being, with us to discuss this. And then, thank you for the article, Nigeria's Killer Containers, that I disagree with should be Nigeria's Killer Roads. But, all being said, we need to do our part as citizens. I know has talked about character, the attitude. We also need to follow the rules, as Lekan has pointed out. But tell us where those bad spots are. We'll do our best to escalate it. Go on to facebook.com/GMNSCoTV. And thank you so much, sir, for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. We're going on a quick break, but when we'll be back, we'll have entertainment, and we do have a celebrity to chat with.
So, did you like what you just saw? I know you did. It's very simple. If you want to see more, just subscribe to our channel right now.